it. So that the recording's in progress. And then I'll just check here that it's going live on my Facebook site. It says live, looking good. There we go. Right, mate, we're on.
Woohoo!
Eli, how you doing?
Awesome sauce. Thanks very much, Joe.
Yeah, I'm plodding along myself. I've had a nice day. It's been very warm, obviously.
Yeah.
And I set out early this morning and did a bit of a park run because I like that park run every Saturday morning.
Well,
And there were 800 people there running with me. I don't know
wow.
whether you're familiar with running and park run and stuff like that, but it's free. It goes on across the globe, and it's bloody fantastic, really, to get people just like moving together.
Yeah.
And what I like about it is you sort of find your own level because there's obviously the arse, I mean the good runners at the front, right? And then there's the walkers at the back, and I'm sort of somewhere because I'm like middle of the road Joe me, really, you know. And if I can do a time that's near or near about last year's time, I'm very happy with that.
Nice. So what are you clocking in at the moment then?
About 32 minutes for 3.1 miles, which ain't bad really. I mean, I'm
No.
70 years of age, going on 14.
Yeah.
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 And I'm doing all right, mate. And I do a lot of swimming as well, just to keep the blood going, really, more than anything else.
Yeah.
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 So, who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah,
Who are you?
who are you? And
Who are you?
where'd you come from? Number two. I don't know why I've called you number two. There must be some sort of symbolic significance there.
I think you're channeling your inner Cilla Black there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, your name and your number two. Where am I from? Phew, wow, that's a massive question, isn't it? Family, half Portsmouth, half Liverpool.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh, but genetically, pretty much indigenous.
yeah.
So Scottish, Cornish, Irish.
So you like them all mixed up then?
Yeah, I'm like a cockapoo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You look more like a schnauzer, to be honest with you. Right, right.
Yeah, no, I'm a bit of a I'd like to say a mongrel, but I prefer the word hybrid.
Yeah. Well, hybrid's okay.
Hybrid.
Yeah,
Hybrid.
a hybrid and hybrid human beings, really.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, no, I'm just a being living my best life that I possibly can. But I've only just been aware that that's a thing over the last sort of 20 years. I think my th first 25 years of my life, 30 years of my life, I didn't really know that you had to do your best in life. I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a totally different person. You know that old adage, the leopards don't change their spots. That's the
Yeah.
biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I agree entirely, mate. And
Yeah.
age as well. Age has got nothing to do with it, really. I think
Uh,
when you find out, and everything changes, doesn't it, really?
yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Once you become self-aware, it's all over for all those overlays, you know.
Did you have any like sort of horrendous experiences that brought you to the rock bottom that gave you the realization that life's a load of bloody nonsense, actually? What was there a point, or was it a sort of gradual thing?
Um, I'll be honest with you, uh I was very ethereal when I was young. So I didn't necessarily I'm not going to talk about family because that's unfair for everyone, but um I I think I was connected very young, Joe.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, about 3 years ago, I went into my garage and I threw away a load of my poetry that I wrote when I was like 14, 15, 16. Should never have done that. It was crazy because I did read through some of it in the garage and it was really profound. It was like just it was complete source connection stuff. And up until the age of about 21, I was definitely on an upward spiritual path. Um, because I grew up on stage. I grew up in a musical family, and I did theatre foundation. I've got my A levels are stage design, theatre studies, English, and I went to King Alfred's College in Winchester to do my degree in theatre and drama. So I've always been into storytelling, and I've always been into semiotics and the meaning of stuff. Um, and then unfortunately, I somebody played a little bit of a trick on me and got me very high, and things changed for a while. And I think probably I self-medicated for quite a long time, which lots of people do.
Yeah.
And I've obviously come out of that now, but I've always felt like I think one of the things, if we're going to get deep quite quickly,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think one of the things that's happening at the moment is that the source connected beings are kind of being pushed to one side. So it's like anyone who has any sort of super consciousness connection, let's put it that way, is is up against it because the material lower vibe worldly elements are really trying to, seal that portal of soul entrapment like forever. It's like a it's like a it's like a it's like the big end baddie. It's like we're at the end of an eon where all the people who are source connected, who are beautiful, lovely, empathic, compassionate, all the human people who are out there doing amazing things and just being lovely and looking after the earth are really being attacked. And that is partly to do with us as well, because we're letting them, and we have let them for a long time. So it is our shadow work we got to do. But, you know, um, I've always felt very connected, Joe. I've felt like I've always believed in God. you know, and I've been told that I shouldn't believe in God and God doesn't exist and all these overlays, and actually life's pretty meaningless unless you realize there is something greater than, greater than. I mean, I don't know, greater than the human mind. And that story is really over the last 4 years, 5 years has really gone through the roof. I've become super aware of stuff. So, meeting people like yourself, amazing nodes of consciousness on the journey, the awakening journey. I'm just really, really excited to be here now. You know.
I agree. Just bear with me 1 second because I need to change the view. There we are. We're now side to side. I don't know whether you knew that, but we're like sort of yin and yang now, or bleep and booster, or something like that. We're like, yeah, what's that other one? Up and down, back to front. And I agree. My story is quite similar. Born 6 weeks premature, 4 pounds, in respiratory distress, congenital hip problems, scoliosis of the spine, basically physically crippled right at birth, right?
Mm,
Um, Transplanted onto my mother's leg until I was 38 years of age, basically. Sort
mm,
of quite a sickly, weak child. Um, and really listened to every word that my mother said and followed her instructions. And it started off, and we say it's not fair to talk about other people, but I'm just relating my story, really. I
mm,
was sort of, um, what's the word I'm looking for? I just listened to every word she said and followed her instructions, because I didn't want to upset her. And I was brought up in a very religious, a highly Roman Catholic Irish family. At the age of 11, I was sent away to start my priest training college, you know, and lots of things happened there. And I went back and I look at, I only managed to hang on there for 18 months because there was so many weird and wonderful things happening to me. I was seeing things coming through the window at night and all that sort of stuff. And I was always in the hospital infirmary or the college infirmary, because I had terrible pains in my stomach. Anyway, I found as I got older, I was always afraid. Eli, oh, you've become like Eli.
yeah,
Eloi,
that's good.
Eloi, lama sabachthani. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? So that was my life, really, is I thought I'd been abandoned.
Mm,
And at the age of 13, 14, 15, can't remember exactly, I found alcohol and it
mm,
changed my life. You talked about self-medication. It changed my life completely. It gave me confidence, right? I could get up on the stage. I loved the acting. I loved the singing. I loved the dancing and playing instruments and all that sort of thing. And for a long time, it basically spurred me on to do quite well, you know. And what it seemed to help me with is I could think clearly and think quickly, and I did quite well. But when I didn't
Mm,
have it, Eli, I just like fell into like a heap, really. And
mm,
then as the years went on, I got married and then I lost that marriage and all that sort of business. And then I had to take high-powered sedatives then to try and keep, all that sort of stuff.
mm, mm,
And at the end of it, after a long time of just progressively getting worse and worse, I tried to do myself in, more than one occasion. And that was
mm.
unsuccessful as well. So not only could I live happily, I couldn't do myself in very successfully either. Thank goodness. But in the
Oh, I
last
shouldn't
time,
laugh. I shouldn't laugh, but
no,
you're
you can
here.
laugh. No, Christ, laugh, mate, because it's hilarious to me now.
It
It
is.
really is. It's
It is.
looking back. It was total and utter nonsense. I was
Mm,
afraid because I'd been sort of inundated with the way to live according to everybody else's standards, especially me mum. You know what I mean? So
mm,
all this fear conditioned stuff was poured into me, and I was terrified to live. And that's why alcohol had such a powerful effect because it made me move. I could take risks and all that, it gave me that freedom, really. But as we
mm,
all know, it was false.
mm, mm,
And I think I've tried everything on the planet, right, from every part of the world in order to make me feel different. So
mm,
I've experimented right across the board, really. But I realize now that true freedom has got to start from the inside out. And that's
mm,
where I'm up to. And on the
mm.
last occasion, I tried to do myself in. Well, I hope it's the last occasion anyway.
Yeah.
Right. On the last occasion, something really profound happened to me because I knelt down and I wasn't in contact with God then, whatever God is, right?
Yeah.
But I did kneel down and I just said, look, I'm hurting myself. I'm hurting so many people. I can't carry on like this.
Mm,
Will you please let me go? Right. And no shit, right? It's the peace that passeth all understanding descended on me head, right? And
mm.
everything stopped. Then when the world stood still.
Yeah.
Well, in that moment, Eli, right, I knew how everything worked, everything,
Mm,
right? And I remember sort of saying in this silence, please stay with me, stay with me. And as soon as I said it, it started to go. But I was presented with like a mathematical formula, like a cipher almost. And when it disappeared, I got the feeling that some sort of thing was guiding me. And it was basically saying to me, son, you shouldn't have signed the line if you can't take a joke, because you signed yourself up for this one, right?
mm,
And what we're going to do now is we're going to help you, right, to go back now and to find that peace. But you have to take actions every single day, right? And other people will see how you're progressing. So I've always like become a model of good practice, really. And that was like
yeah.
that was 33 years ago. And since that time, Eli, I haven't had a drink of alcohol. I haven't had any tablets or anything to change my mind. So I've been living a clean. When I say clean, I don't mean in here, right? That's still a
Yeah.
lot of work that needs to be done in there.
Mm,
But I've tried to lead a clean life, meaning eat clean food, drink clean water, make sure that my environment's as clean as possible. And I really see that at the moment, the human race is going through basically a detox process.
yeah.
All right, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, Theo, go away. You've got to go away. Go away. No. It's my 15-year-old. He's gorgeous,
right.
but he's trying to spell out chips.
All right. Yeah, so
Yeah,
so
carry
that's
on.
what happened, mate. And what I do is, I found the solution really to how to live my life in Alcoholics Anonymous. That's where I get my
Mm,
instructions from. That's where the discipline comes from.
yeah.
And all my life's about now is waking up with a clean sheet every morning, opening my heart up and saying, what would you have me do today? And I know
Mm,
that I'm not talking to something outside of myself. It's just a deeper part of myself, really, called my
mm,
intuition or my innate intelligence. I've
mm.
gone on a lot there, mate, but that's where I'm up to. And it's led
Yeah.
me into all sorts of my life has changed beyond my wildest dreams for the better.
Yeah. I think it's great for people to see the journey of other people. And I think a lot of people get a lot of strength when they hear people's stories and how they come through adversity. It's like I went to see Paul McKenna. I'll just tell you this little story. My wife reads Paul McKenna books, right? She's amazing. Sarah's absolutely amazing. And she's been reading Paul McKenna books for years and years and years. And for her birthday last year, she was like, I got tickets to go and see Paul McKenna, right? I was like, awesome. Can't wait. That's going to be amazing. She got us tickets in the front row. And I was like, oh, we're going to see Paul McKenna, the hypnotist. And we're going to be in the front row. So we're going to get picked on it, you know. Anyway, we got there. And I will say something, Joe. He said something really profound. And he came on and he said, we're all going to do the work together today. Yeah. That was the first thing he said. And I was just like, wow, there's 500, 600 people in this room. And he said, and all the different techniques that he used in hypnotism, they're all based in deep esoteric knowledge.
Yeah.
And once you see it from that perspective, he's showing it to the layman, yeah, and he's showing it in a way that everybody can understand it. But the actual techniques he does are absolutely profound. And the one that I take away more than all the others is he said, and you'll relate to this because he said if you've got a problem and you've got yourself who is innately going to stay alive, you know, your natural state of being is stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. Every single cell of your body, even your brain, everything is your heart, your stomach, everything is like saying stay alive. If you've got a problem, he was saying what you need to do is, and it is the middle way. He said you put the problem in front of you and you go, that's the problem. Yeah, that is my problem. Like the alcohol, you went to a meeting and you said, it's like the cliche, hi, my name's Eli and I'm an addict. Yeah. And once you put it in front of you and you face it, and then you bring your innate natural self into it, integrate alchemy, boom, and you can move on. And I was just blown away by this guy. I was blown away by Paul McKenna because he gave a secret. That's a secret. That is an actual alchemy secret. If you've got any conflicts in your life, face it head on. Your own innate nature will come and help you with that, and you'll be able to move on. And it doesn't matter what it is. And
That's
I just thought
exactly.
that.
I agree, mate. Sorry for putting in. I agree
Yeah,
entirely. Because in AA, what you
yeah,
find out is we all knew that we needed to stop drinking or anything like that, as you've just said. People know
mm,
what they need to do, right?
mm,
The
mm,
problem is their thinking, right? Isn't their thinking, right? It's a lack of power that's the problem.
mm,
And we have to
mm,
sort of almost say surrender and allow this other power to come through and start
mm,
to help us to manage our lives. And that's what
mm,
happened to me, you know.
mm,
And when I went through that process, I went home, right, and a weird feeling was on me, right. And I sat on my bed. I was living in this shitty flat at the time, 9 stories up, right. And I sat on my bed and I had this weird feeling. And my sponsor had said to me, reflect on what's going on now, Joe. Reflect on it, right. And I sat on my bed and no shit, this voice said to me, Joseph, we love you. And I thought, oh, I thought, oh my God. I said, F off and come back in the morning when it's light, I said.
yeah,
And honestly, I got up the next day. It seemed like in a completely different world. And since then, I've been free and becoming more and more free. And I think I don't see ascension as such. I see expansion because I
mm,
think ascension to me is like a linear process where you have to climb up a ladder. But I think it's much more multidimensional than that, almost like quantum, you know.
mm,
So
mm,
that's where I'm
mm,
up to. Do I know what's going on? Most of the time, I've got no idea.
mm,
And I think the hard part for egos, right, is I mean, I'm still an egomaniac and I want to know what's going on. But I almost get told is you don't need to know, Joe. Just take the actions. And in 3 months' time, looking back, you'll see what's happened. But your intuition doesn't work logically as far as humans go because it sees a bigger picture. It will just guide you through a feeling, really. And
mm.
I'm writing this book at the moment. It's called The F Off Approach to Health and Happiness. Right. And F off stands for focus on feelings first. Right.
That's
You know,
nice.
and that's what I'm saying to people is jettison your head, throw it
Yeah.
away, metaphorically decapitate yourself, sink deep into your heart, and just almost like use your left ear and say, can you show me what I need to do next? And
Mm,
Eli, my life's been transformed, mate. And it's
mm,
dead simple.
mm. But well, I mean, yeah, that heartfelt. I mean, it's interesting, Joe, when I think of you, what comes after whenever I think of your name and who you are is the heartfelt approach. That's what I get from whenever I think about you. That is also, a huge esoteric piece of knowledge in that the heart is everything. The heart is everything. And you see the heart in the Rosicrucian symbol, you see it in Mary Magdalene and Jesus, and it's not, you know, the all the overlays of like basing things in the material world and the physical world take all the magic and all the spirit and all the love and all the otherworldly amazingness, the flow of life out of something so powerful. And it's like, oh, well, your heart is, a pump that pumps your blood around your body. Well, do you know what? That's like 0.1% of what your heart does.
Yeah.
It is a quantum tool. And like you say, it's interesting, isn't it, when you kind of within, the spiritual community, not all of it, but in a lot of it, people say drop into your heart, and when you do, it is people who don't know how to drop into their heart don't experience it. And actually, a lot of the people who I'm around now, they they're encouraging people to get this heartfelt center, and it's extraordinarily powerful. It's extraordinarily powerful once you do that. Once you surrender, and you actually go into that space of wonder, magic happens, and it amplifies out. It creates that incredible, you know, force field that allows you to move, gracefully through life and to make decisions that are extraordinarily illogical but beautifully, harmless and wonderful and full of joy and wonder. It is profound once you get into that, energy. And if people don't experience it, they don't know what it is.
No, no,
That's the
but
thing.
and I found that there's a lot of people, and it's not a criticism, it's just a statement of fact, and the way I see it is a lot of people know about it, and they talk about it from a head perspective, but it's
Yeah.
almost like when you feel it and you feel it working, right? If it's completely different than what your
Mm.
head was telling you, that's what I think. And so, I think, well, it's just a feeling. And you
Yeah.
said that when you think about me, and do you have any other feelings? No, 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 we won't go there. We won't go
It's
there,
watershed,
right?
mate. Got another hour and we'll be there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. No, it's true though, Joe. It is true that that the work you're doing is really it's a node. It's not even a node of consciousness. I'm not going to say that because it is in the head, but it's about coming out of that left brain. And the fact that, I mean, I'm not being funny, but the fact that you're a guy, you're a man saying this is really powerful because I think well, I feel and I think that it is more difficult for men to, partly because we're just more embodied. It's not, and women have a more ethereal, gentle, a easier connection to the spirit world. But the fact that you're a man in this world doing this work is really important because we need nodes to actually be able to go, well, you know what, that guy's doing that. And if he's doing that, why is he doing it? How's he doing it? What's it all about? And so you're kind of like you're shining your light and leading the way, and people will always be drawn to that and attracted to that because of who you are. And more grease to your elbow, Joe, because as Jamie Carragher once said, well, the cop, all we want is a team of Jamie Carragher's. All we want is a team of Joe Delaney's. Do you know what I mean?
well, I think where I'm being guided is to bring this forward in a relatively simple neuroscientific way to show some practical evidence to the
Yeah.
majority of people to say, here's the evidence. And you've seen that thing that I do is plug somebody up to a heart rate monitor and get them to breathe in a certain way. And as they breathe at 6 breaths per minute or thereabouts, right, with a positive emotion, what seems to happen is this neutrality comes in, this 0 point. And it's in that 0 point, right? They call it a 0 point where everything's happening. It's almost as if that's the gate to go deeper into your soul's sort of programming and stuff like that. So I'm trying to show people that as soon as they change their breathing, their heart changes and
Mm,
their heart informs their head. And so, really, I'm trying to turn normal stuff. I'm not knocking CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, but the stuff I went through is I couldn't generate enough powerful thinking in order to overcome what was really emotional problem, really.
mm,
And I think we
mm,
do that, and most people are beginning to understand now that 4/5 of the information that we process goes on below the level of our consciousness. And it's
mm,
that that's driving our feelings all the time. And
mm.
therefore, those feelings are driving our choices, are determining the quality or the lack of quality of our life. I've like hijacked this conversation here, haven't I? But if
No.
we just like simply just become aware of your breathing, because eventually it leads you back to your body. Because we're being tried to suck away from our body more and more by all these distractions now. And
Mm,
that's all part of the game, isn't it?
yeah.
The opponents or the nefarious ones or whatever the hell you want to call them, they're doing everything to try and prevent us to stay looking outwards rather than looking inwards. So
Mm,
we've always got these expectations, but really we need to move from expect to inspect. And that's
mm,
what's happened to me. And I'm trying to plug people back into their intuition. And when they say to me, what should I do next? I say, I've got no idea, but your heart knows, you see.
mm,
And then, because if somebody asks me for some advice and I tell them and it goes wrong, they're going to blame me, aren't they? Right.
mm.
So in a way, Eli, this is about restoring personal responsibility for our actions, really. And that's
Yeah.
called karma, mate, isn't it? And we're being faced now, more and more, we're being faced with facts and we're being forced to face ourselves as well. And I
Yeah.
think as part of this great big shift in consciousness, I mean, and you're quite right, you mentioned Mary Magdalene and the feminine energy. I think it's a big feminine surge now that's forcing us to clean our act up, really.
100%. It's interesting you say that because, well, there's a couple of things that come out of that. The first thing it's interesting that you said that it's the 6 breaths per minute, which is actually shamanic, right? Because when you do shamanic drumming, it's
Oh,
between
yeah,
four,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and also the Schumann resonance. So you're dropping into about that, which is really, really powerful in itself. Um, the one of the things, I mean, I'm in a couple of groups on Telegram. I'm involved in a farmers group, and one of the things that you hit the nail on the head there. One of the things that I'm continually trying to coach people gently, or just remind people gently, that you can regurgitate the stories of the external world very easily, but actually we co-create and we create our own lives, and you can only do that if you're, or do that well, if you're in the heart. You can't do it with your head. You can do it to a certain degree with your head, but actually we're co-creating all the time. We're in this space and we create our reality, and when people understand that that is the case and they go inside, you literally become like a god. I mean, I know that's a massive thing to say, but you have the power to be able to create anything you want. And we've been taken so far away, and there's so many overlays that we don't actually understand or remember who we truly are. And part of the work you're doing is actually saying, you know what, it's all here, it's all inside. Go inside, you'll find all the answers. I mean, I'm not going to quote from JC here, but he did say, go inside and you'll find all the answers.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it is true, and it's all the external world is all a distraction, all of it, absolutely everything. And I've got issues with the farmers in these groups because they're co-create they're creating the narrative that these obsoletes, as I call them, want us to believe. And actually go inside, find your truth, and create your own environment. If everybody created what they truly wanted, the place would be amazing.
I agree.
But we've kind of been told that that we have to do this all this external bullshit, and it's all programs. It is the Matrix. It is an artificial overlay. It's got nothing to do. Somebody said to me when we were at Crops Not Shops recently that part of the plan, their plan, uh, Agenda 2030, whatever you want to call it, is to put a machine interaction between every single human interaction. Um, and obviously, that whole you're not allowed to hug granny thing during COVID, you weren't allowed to have any physical contact with people. That's a spiritual betrayal. That's actually a spiritual betrayal to not, in fact, even to the point where I learned that we've been told to hug across,
Yeah.
and it should be the other way.
Yeah.
And people, and I do that. I always go in on that side now just because I feel it's better. But actually, it's these little things, these little nuances which make all the difference. And we've just been taken down this road. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are having this awakening together. People are talking about the same things and they don't know each other. I had a carpet fitter come round my house. Couldn't believe it. It was like Zen and the art of carpet fitting. Do you know what I mean?
I
And we
do.
stood in my hall and had this incredible conversation. And I said, "What are you in any groups? Do you do things? He's like, no, it's just me. I'm at home with my family." I was like, "And you got all this going on?" And he's like, "Yeah." I said, "You're a legend, mate. You're an absolute legend." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm on it, and I'm creating my life for me, my family. I'm improving. I want to be the best person I possibly can. I want to help people. I want to be in service to people. I fit carpets. I come in. I do the best, you know, all that good stuff. And I'm sure there's millions of people out there like that.
More and more, mate. And I think I agree with you. I think that the soul attracts to it on a daily basis. The stage, the players, the events, right, in which it needs to go forward. Because I think what's happening is it's the soul, if you like, or the light body that's actually infiltrating our physical body now. That's why so many people are suffering from chronic illnesses and stuff, because it's being highlighted to them now that where there's pain, there's an obstruction to this free flow of light. And so we need
Mm,
to pay attention to the area of the pain, go into our heart, and then ask our intuition, what do I need to do with this? Because my understanding is that your intuition will help you in a sequence. And you might go to a coach, you'll say, work on your gluteals or something like that. That might actually absolutely obstruct what needs to happen. You might just
mm,
need to work on your shoulder and then everything else falls into place. So you can almost rely on this inner navigation system to give you the information that you need to take action on and to
mm,
help you to go forward. So that's the
mm.
first thing that I've learned about my own life is that everything I need, right, is already in me, the inspiration, the intuition, right? However, it's always good to talk it out with somebody else, really, because
Mm.
then when two or more are gathered, or even groups, there's a different type of energy comes in there.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think meetings as well. I always have this thing about 13, like 1 plus 12, a bit like Christ and the 12 disciples, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Christ to me is a symbol of the heart, you
Mm,
know, and the 12 disciples are a symbol of the different frequencies that are available to us now. So they're the human potentials that are available to everybody, and they're opening up now, just waiting to be listened to, really. And I
mm,
think
mm.
beforehand, all the disciples were knocking shit out of each other, and there was a great big raucous, nobody could hear because it was so incoherent. But now the heart's coming through, almost like the Christ is coming through now to say, hang on a second, you lot have had your day now.
Yeah,
I'm the master here. So this is what we're going to do.
mm,
Peter, your turn to have a talk. Shut up, everybody else. Peter's go. All right, Peter, you've had your 10 minutes. Andrew, you're pretty good at bookkeeping. What's your point of view here? So, that's how I'm seeing it now, that within us, it's almost like a representation of what's going on outside as well, you
yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
just on the final bit, so I see these like these. It's like almost like Buckminster Fuller used to talk about, like dodecahedrons sort of taking over the planet. I
Yeah.
almost like see that when you sort yourself out individually, you then draw other people to you, and then you work together as a collective, and those little mini collectives start to cover the planet. Then I honestly feel that that's the way that's going forward now.
Yeah. You know what, Joe, I totally agree with that. It's interesting. I mean, I could talk of that quite a lot, but I totally agree. There's, you know, the story about, oh, what's the guy's name? The Czechoslovakian leader, Pavel. Uh, he, it's a quick story. When communism came into power in Czechoslovakia, there was a guy who wrote about it, and he actually, I think he even became prime minister of Czechoslovakia. And he said, because obviously we're living under communism now, that's what's actually happening. He said, what happens is that the narrative comes down on the people, but there are a whole bunch of people who do not buy into the narrative, and they are the heartfelt ones. They're the ones with the Christ consciousness, and they're the ones who are source connected, and they will not buy into the narratives because they're in gnosis. They know. They just know that it's wrong. And what happens is that they're so high frequency that they're all over the place, just like Buckmaster Fuller says, that they shine their light, and it transmutes people around them, and they attract people to them. And then what actually happens is, after a period of time, it just takes time, that actually all those groups come together, and there's so many of them that the dominant narrative falls apart. It just falls apart.
Yeah, yeah,
And the natural way of life then takes over again. So it's only a matter of time. Um, it's that's a really powerful story. And this is, I mean, I'll tell you a little bit. We haven't spoken about the Shine seminars, and I'm going to put it into context here. I'll just tell you how the Shine seminar started, and you'll get some idea. So in May 2021, I knew about the New World Order in the 90s, late 90s, and I knew it was coming at some point. And I stopped all my research in 2010. So I'd had 13 years of all this crazy research. And I knew when COVID hit that this was it, that they'd unleashed their plan. And May 2021, I was like, I'm fed up of listening to these bloody, all this bullshit, this psyop, this military grade psychological operation to destroy us and to put us into fear. And I wanted to put on this event, and I was doing really, really powerful meditations at the time. I was waking up naturally between 2 and 4 in the morning. I was doing little tiny journeys, longer journeys. It was extraordinary. For probably about 18 months this happened. And I was like, I want to do an event that just talks about us. I don't want anything to do with the narrative. I don't want anything to do with the mainstream media, the government, nothing. And I was like, what are the three things that I really want to concentrate on? And I was like, the first one is sovereignty, empowering you self-empowering yourself to be strong in yourself. The second one, I wanted there to be nutrition and well-being. So it was well-being, it was health, it was the body. And the third one was spiritual practice, and just like going inside and working with your own energy. And it was only last year that I actually realized that it was just another name for mind, body, and spirit. It was just, I was like, oh, well, I'm not inventing, you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
the same thing, but it was sovereignty, empowerment, wellness and nutrition, and spiritual well-being. And I really wanted a day where it was just us. It was just people, heartfelt people in service to others, good, compassionate people, a lot of love, care, looking after their environment. And we did this amazing event, and all those people were on that event are still in my energy field now. Clive de Carl, the Bards of Avalon, Carly Spell, David Edelman, Michael Tingle. They're all still around. We had an amazing day. I got 55 people. I couldn't get anybody to hire me a space from May till September. No one would do it because of the COVID. There were lockdowns. We were in the middle of lockdowns, and I got a piece of land, and I got this guy who was going to do me a deal on a big marquee. They're about £3,000 to put a big marquee up. And 10 days before the gig, he pulled the plug on it. He said, "I'm not doing it." And I was like, "What am I going to do?" And I spent quite a bit of money on this space, and it was the first day after lockdown. So the lockdown was on the Friday, and I'd managed to sell 55 tickets within 10 days. I just went, "I'm going to do it." And I put the word out. We had 55 people. I came on the stage, and I just went to everybody. I went, "You are all gods. You are all gods. You are all creation beings. You are all in creative spirit, and I'm so grateful for you to be here." And I sat down in the audience. I sat down in the audience, and everyone was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And I was just like, "Well, what we're going to talk about? Who wants to get up on stage? There's the floor. Let's do it." And I was joking about, but I was really serious. I was like, "You guys are all here. You're the meat and bones of this." I've got a few people who are kind of the catalyst for this meeting, but at the same time, you're the ones with the stories. You're the ones who've got the motivation to come here. Why are you here? We had an amazing day, and at the end of it, this woman came up to me and she said, "Well, you didn't talk about the darkness. You didn't talk about COVID. You didn't talk about this." I said, "Well, are you fucking kidding?" I was like, I wasn't angry, but inside I was just like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "No." I was like, "We're not, no. This day is what we've had this since like March 2020. So, and it's like it's now September 21, and the whole world's been talking about this shit. This is one day for us, and the shine has been based on that. And every single event we do is about us. It's about going back to ourselves, remembering who we are, being in total harmony with nature, working with the energy, working in a way that is truly human. And the true human is the heartfelt way. And just as an aside, Joe, I don't know whether you know this, and this, I don't know what the AI is going to think of this one, but the Skull and Bone Society in America, yeah. Their symbol is the skull and the bones. So that symbol represents the dead mind and the dead body, and there's no heart. Yeah, that's what that symbol represents. And it's the same with the pirate symbol as well. It's the dead mind and the dead body with no heart. So that's what they do. They make decisions for the dead entities in the dead world with no heart. And that's the energy that we're trying to transmute, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring the heart back because the heart brings life. Nothing is alive without a heart. It's as simple as that. In the mammal world, obviously, you know, and I'm loving what I do because I'm not really involved in the shine. It's hilarious. People are like, "Oh, he's the facilitator, he's the organizer. Oh, it's his thing." It's not my thing at all. It's literally all I've done is do the action bit. I've
Yeah.
just gone, "Right, you lot. There's a stage. Crack on." There's the door. I've opened the door. Off you go, and then everybody comes in, and it is a. There are loads and loads and loads of people around the country doing really, really similar things. And in fact, I've noticed because I am in the events kind of game, um, that there are so many more events this year than there were even 2 years ago. And people are rising up, and the stories they're telling, the subjects they're talking about. There's a lot, I might well be in a little echo chamber, but I'm seeing more and more things in the mainstream now, which I would be considered to be niche, or I don't like to use the word alternative, but not in the mainstream. And I'm seeing a lot more events where I'm seeing like sound baths just on notice boards,
Yeah.
which you never used to see. And even yoga was considered to be kind of physical exercise. We're seeing a lot more kind of pranic yoga or kundalini yoga, and people getting into the energies of it and working with the energies more. A lot of the people who come to the shine, they're great because they're just like me. I clear houses for a living. We're working people who are actually tapping in and finding out who they truly are. So, you know, it's like a heartfelt for revolution, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, as you said, we've got to trust this process because I see it like collective individuality, you know,
Yeah.
where individuals, they have individual souls with individual set of skills and talents, right? And they're unique. There's nobody special, right?
Mm.
Special indifference, that's just sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
SAD, right? But there's people they've got these innate resources, and when they work with them, it's effortless for them. It comes naturally, and they feel joyful when they're expressing themselves in their
Mm.
specific frequencies. I see that as clear as anything.
Mm.
However, as you say, education to me, there's two roots to education. The word Latin, there's educare and educere. Right, and educare basically means to pour in information, and educere means to draw out. And I think
Mm.
what's happened is, like that thing is school, no place for children. You know that one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, but we've been in there now, sort of inundated with all this information on how to behave. That's almost like loosening up now and being drawn out of us. It's almost like the soul, like the Michelin man, is getting pumped up and it's kicking out all the shit that's accumulated over years. I mean, there's loads of neuroscience behind this, like epigenetics and stuff. But in a simple way, we're almost like being, if we surrender and get out of the way, we get done too, rather than us having to do anything as such, really. Our only job is to create from this flowing consciousness. And I can see
Mm.
that's happening more and more now. That people
Mm.
get to such a stage where they think, oh, sod this for the lark, right? I'm going to do something totally different. And it just takes them back to when they were children, before
Mm.
they were clobbered by all that bollocks and the programs and the conditioning.
Mm.
It takes
Mm.
them back to their playfulness if they were lucky enough to have it before they
Mm.
got battered by
Done.
society. Yeah.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I think sorry, mate. Just you to say,
Mm.
when we went to Crops Not Shops and all that, there was like over 1,000 tents there. There was thousands of people. The kids
Yeah.
were running around with nothing on, and there was
Yeah.
laughter and joy and everything else. I still haven't quite got used to those compost toilets yet, but I'm working on it. I had
Yeah.
to go and find Morrison's, the shop, and pretend to buy something to use the loo.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm working towards it. But
Yeah.
it was freedom, mate. It was absolute freedom. And I got
Mm.
up at the sunrise. I got up before the sun rose, and they were doing all the drumming and stuff. I thought it's really, really good. It's dead simple, and the food was great too. Obviously,
It was.
um,
Yeah.
it was dead simple, right? And everybody was chilled and relaxed, and it was great.
Mm.
And that's a
Mm.
bit like the Lionsgate thing that's coming up, isn't it? Do you want to
Mm.
say a little bit more about that and just tell the audience what's going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. My thought when you're talking there, because I went to Crops Not Shop last year as a kind of just as a punter, and it's an extraordinarily powerful place. Um, but what happens? I mean, we can get into we could do a series, Jeremy and you talking about stuff, but because we live in boxes, yeah, we're manifesting out of a box. Yeah, and we're trapped. We're prisoners in a box.
Yeah.
And in fact, you see all the modern buildings are all boxes, and they're real modernist, communist pieces of shit. It's really shocking. But what's really interesting is when you go and live in a tent or a bivouac or whatever on the land with hedges and grass and trees and birds, you change completely. You become a totally different person overnight. And what happens is that if you spend time, because I've had this happen to me, if you spend time in nature with a group of people that you get to know over a period of days, you actually start talking complete and utter gobbledygook, and you just start expressing through joy. Everything you do is joy, and it's like you're Frodo in the Shire. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You're skipping along,
What you
and
are.
yeah, and the thing is that I don't think we quite realize how powerful tarmac, concrete, trainers, all these buildings, and they take away our innate natural power. And for any people who are watching this now, one of the most powerful things you can do is go and fall asleep under a tree. If you go and fall asleep under a tree, the healing that happens, the symbiosis between you and the birds and the wind and the earth and the tree is absolutely profound. I went to the Isle of Wight a few years ago to do a talk there, and if ever you go to the Isle of Wight, you can hire a house in the botanical gardens. You can go to Airbnb and there's a house, and it's just absolutely beautiful. It's a Victorian house, and you can hire it. And I came in, and my son was like, "This is my bedroom." I was like, "No, it's not. It's actually not. It's my bedroom." And I went in there, and I had the window open, and I could hear the sea because the sea's about 100 yards away. And I lay down, I could hear the birds, and I could hear all the rustling in the trees. And I was just like, the frequency of all those sounds, it's just healing me. It's actually healing me. And I fell asleep, and I had the most incredibly relaxing, healing, powerful sleep I've ever had. Like genuinely, I've ever had. I was only asleep for 20 minutes. I woke up, total reset, total reset. And I think people, once they reconnect to nature, especially if you fall asleep, if you fall asleep, it really does put your frequencies. It puts your mind it drops down into a beautiful, beautiful place. You become a different person. And getting out of the cities, putting your feet in some water in the streams, spending a few days, it's so powerful because we were not designed to live in these boxes with all this concrete and this tarmac. It's a really simple thing, but it is profound. And crops, not shops. You know, the shine. I'll just tell you, the shine. We're on a field. We're in a field. We all walk around with our bare feet. You know, it's a beautiful atmosphere. This year we're so lucky because we got Lionsgate on the 8/8. We got the most unbelievable lineup of speakers. We've got 48 speakers. We've got 32 workshops. We've got this most incredible piece of land that we use. We have Sundara community, which is like an ashram that finishes 3 days before us. So we've had chanting for like 10 days, 2 weeks on the land. The land is completely charged. It's when you walk onto the field, it's just charged because there's all these people who've just been healing and doing yoga and qigong, just extraordinary uh, injection of powerful sacred energy that's been happening to the land. And then we come onto the site and we do talks and workshops, and we've got plant consciousness. We've got a guy who's talking about Tartaria this year. We've got the chemtrail lady doing the vinegar, which is a really interesting one, doing the white vinegar. We've got storytelling. We've got sacred storytelling. We've got Tesla Tech. Um, we've got on the Lionsgate itself, and I'm not allowed to have favorites, right? Hands up, it's my gig, so I've got to be very careful what I say. But I will say that right across the board, there is such a high standard of speakers. We've got light language people. We've got people who are going to teach you how to tap into your Akashic records. You know, all these people are, oh, I'll read your Akashic records. Why would I allow you to read what you think is my Akashic records? I'll do it myself. Thank you very much. So it's about empowerment. On the Lionsgate, just on the one tent, I'll just do the one tent because, I can do. We got three tents each day, three big tents. We got three smaller tents doing workshops and smaller talks. We've got Lisa Raven doing a great mother activation first thing in the morning, absolutely off the chart. Lisa's work is profound, and that's how I met you, Joe, at the Thrive. And then Agnieszka Laskas is going to do an Amanita water ceremony straight afterwards, which is just going to be off the chart, profound. Her work is incredible. She's got sacred waters from around the world. She'll do intention setting. She's an extraordinary woman, Agnieszka. And then we'll have a bit of a break, and then we come back and Tara Devine, who is 23 years old, who's stepped up this year. She's been to the Shine for 2 years running. She's been to the individual days. Now she's doing her own plant ceremonies. She's going to do sacred plant ceremony for us, off the chart. 23 years old, beautiful, absolutely amazing. And then we're going to finish with a sound bath from the Bards of Avalon, which will be just extraordinary. Just a quick story. I had to do the microphone. We were recording one of their sound baths once, and I was right in front of them, and I had to move the mic like this. I was like this, and I just got high. I was right in front of them. Every sound that they did for an hour was just hitting me, and I literally was like, oh, I was in another world. And then we're gonna have some food, and it's 99% vegan food, just because it's what I call highest denomination food. I want everybody to be able to eat the food, and That's the way it is. We've got gorgeous food. We've got Faith, who's an incredible festival chef, and then we've got Mobius Loop in the evening, uh, doing the music. So that particular day, the Lionsgate is absolutely extraordinary. And I think you're on the Saturday.
Yeah.
I think you're on the Saturday. We've got the most incredible speakers. I'd love to have the facilities to be able to live stream it and just get the whole world watching it, really. But actually, you know, I think that the people who get attracted to the events are the ones that should be there. And it's going to be a beautiful environment. We have 250 people. It's not big at all. Loads of kids running around, children. I think last year we had about 30. But it's just beautiful, and people get healed. The profound things come up over the weekend, but people actually get healed just by being in that space. The atmosphere is electric. It's electric, and the conversations that people are having are just extraordinary. They're off the chart. And the speakers are the catalyst, but the people who are doing the work are the people who are attending. And they're all just extraordinary people who want to take away and share with their networks the information that they've gleaned off our speakers. And I have a I have a particular we do have professional people who make money out of not only the talks but their products and their services, um, you know, especially with the healing modalities. But I love the idea of having a passionate amateur, somebody who is in it just because they love it.
Yeah.
And we do attract people like that. Absolutely every single speaker is passionate about what they do. And we have a small healing field, which is going to have 15 people, and they're always full. The healers there are always busy working on people. We've got Senor Craig, we've got, all sorts of, I mean, off the top of my head, we've got Indian head massage, we've got lots of bodywork people, we've got some acupuncture, we've got bioresonance, we've got Lulu's going to come down with doing the spinal health again. It's a great collection of people, and anybody who wants to just have a taste of what life could be like. I always say this is our third one, it's like I'm doing it the wrong way round. I should be living here and going
Yeah.
out and
Yeah.
working and then coming back.
Yeah.
And we're all in service. And my new paradigm really would be everyone's in service to everyone else. And then if everybody's in service to everybody else, we're all getting along fine. You know. So it's going to be an extraordinary. I'm talking as well, which is interesting because I've been slack actually. I don't talk as much as I don't talk as much. I can talk the hind legs of a donkey, but I don't really talk at my gigs that much because I always want other speakers to come and talk, and I always drop out and oh no, somebody else will talk. But I am talking. I'm going to do my talk on. It's called Let There Be Light. It's about the power of light. It's about how we are light beings, and it's about how we charge with the sun. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the cosmic happenings that are happening at the moment because that's off the chart. So I'm really looking forward to it, Joe. And I really encourage people to come down. There's day tickets and there's what we call the full Monty, which yeah,
Well, your talk, I mean, I'll be touching a bit on that as well, about biophotonic resonance and all this sort of stuff now, and how energy and the X chromosome and mitochondria and all these things are related now, and how we can actually zoom right in to our heart of hearts and almost like help that process. So from the inside, we can clear some space to let more light come in, really, because it's the light that's going to do the work, but we've just got to get out of the way, really. And that's the
yeah,
difficult part because the ego obstructs all the time,
yeah. I
uh,
only learned that lesson a couple of years ago, Joe.
about
Seriously.
letting go.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Really, honestly, it was a couple of years ago, and how I learned it's often through what I would call the positive framing is a challenge. But the negative frame is the conflict and the battle,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I was in a situation where I couldn't resolve what I was doing, and I was battling, and I was challenging myself, and it was really hard. There was a lot of friction, and it got to the point where I was just like, "Fuck it,
yeah,
just let go,
yeah,
just let go, Eli." And I just let go, and everything just melted away. It just melted away, and the energy self-organized itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't have to put it in. There was no control. There was no me doing this or that's going to happen. And if I do this, this will happen. It was just me just dropping everything and just going, you know what? It's all good. It's all good. And I was just like, it's all good. Everything's going to be good. I'll be looked after.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
And as
and
Bruce Lee said, be like water.
yeah,
And that's exactly how I see it now. Is just relax, let the water come in, find its way to where it needs to go, clean our act up, and then just keep moving, you know.
yeah, yeah,
Eloy,
yeah.
Eloy again, you're back to being Eloy.
I like that.
Yeah,
Pe-
well, yeah, there's no coincidences, mate.
No,
So thanks very much for coming on. And what
yeah,
I'll do is I also put this up on Instagram as well.
brilliant.
Right. So that'll have gone through in some way. I'll send you the recording and then you can bung it on your site if you want and stuff like that. So I'll just keep dishing it out now and see what happens really.
That's perfect, Joe. Our website is really easy. Easy. It's theshineseminars.org.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm really grateful for you, giving me the opportunity to talk, Joe. We should do it again.
We
You know,
We will do, mate. Will because
yeah,
it's our purpose now. I've got over the mock humility of you're a leader because I know that I am now. That's my job.
yes,
No,
yeah,
no, and
yeah.
it's
No, I
it's
get
like
that.
when people get onto me, you think, oh fucking hell, what do they want now? You know what I mean? So I haven't got that attitude of, oh, isn't it wonderful? Most of the time, it's like, oh God, what do
Yeah,
they want me to do now? But that's
yeah,
that's I'm just being honest about it. But
yeah,
once I've done it and got over myself, I think, oh,
yeah,
that was really good. That I've enjoyed myself.
yeah. Well, it's been great shooting the breeze with you, Joe. I really appreciate your time.
Pleasure, mate. And if there's anything else, give us a shout. And thanks very much, everybody, for listening in. And if you've got any questions, if you just pop along it's www.theshineseminars.org. And I'll
Thank you
also
very
put
much.
that link on the YouTube on my Facebook site, and you'll find all the information there.
Amazing. Thanks, Joe.
All right, mate.
Much
Talk to you soon.
appreciated. Cheers.
Bye bye.
Bye.